If you're championing a ban, what you're doing is you're shilling for a company that would rather hide their shortcomings than fix them. Hello everybody and welcome. So the Baus got permanently banned on his account recently, on his main account, and I've seen a lot of people use this opportunity to say that he should be permanently banned on all of his accounts, that he is trolling his games, that he is unhealthy for the game, and that ultimately he deserves to not have the opportunity to play League of Legends. I do believe that some of the Reddit threads popping up are ultimately in a joking spirit. However, I see some people use them and legitimately try to justify the witch hunt that is happening against the Baus and saying that he should be banned. If you're not familiar with who the Baus is, he's a challenger level player who is very famous for his unconventional playstyle.
Oh, I'm gonna cash in big time. Big 160! That's a good def.
He actually made a video explaining the playstyle in full. I will link to it in the description down below if you're interested in checking that out. In short, his playstyle is characterized by one thing. He dies a lot, right? He has many deaths every single game. Even though he wins games, he's going to have very negative scores. So here's an example of a classic The Baus match history that you're going to be able to see anytime you look up his op.gg or look at his match history or whatever. And people are using this match history and his scores to justify and say that he is just a bad player, he is boosted, he doesn't deserve the rank. Let's be honest, when the Baus has a good game, his score is not going to be too pretty. Right? But when he messes up, his score is going to look absolutely horrific. It's going to look like somebody who picked up League of Legends first time in their life. But let's get one thing straight, okay? He is objectively better than 99.9% of you watching this video and of the whole player base. And I know you hear me and you understand this on an intellectual level, but I've made a visualization to help you understand just what that is. So if we look at this dot here, this dot represents the Baus's place in the ranked ladder on the ranked queue. And if we scroll out, we're going to see how that functions in relation to rest of the players playing ranked. And if we were to include people who don't even play ranked, people who just enjoy League of Legends, normal games, draft games, ARAMs, whatever, this would look even larger. So the Baus has objective credentials to show that he is indeed a good player. And I know a lot of players love to criticize and backseat people who are way better than them, especially bad players, which is just showing a Dunning-Kruger effect in action. And I've found some comments on Reddit that I would like to read to you. The Baus is a trash player that shouldn't be near the elo he is, literally inflated solely by Sion's passive, and apparently Riot is okay with that. No, you don't get it. If he wins, it's because he's a genius. Haha. If he loses, it's because of his bad teammates who can't capitalize on all the chances his 17 deaths provided. Well played, GG, go next. That or wherever else his bootlickers will come up with. I feel like a lot of people haven't watched any Baus after the initial inting Sion popularity spike. This guy 100% ints games for stream content. One of the claims levied against the Baus by his so-called haters is that he griefs his game, specifically referring to intentional feeding because of his high number of deaths. And I don't like the way that people are weaponizing the term intentional feeding here. They're basically taking a term which has a lot of negative baggage and negative associations, and they're trying to box Baus in with all the trolls, all the people who are intentionally trying to lose the game, all the toxic people, even though Baus is absolutely not one of them. Comparing the Baus to old school Tyler 1, a player who would get angry and then decide that he's going to intentionally lose the game for his team by running down mid lane and dying over and over and over again without doing anything, is in nowhere near similar. So to this claim, I say this is just completely false. So the Baus' strategy revolves around getting as much gold, as much experience, W stacks, and putting pressure on the enemy team as possible. If he dies getting as much value for his team as he can. Therefore, his plays are ultimately aimed or created with the intention to win the game and not lose it. So his motives are in the right spot. And without the intentional part of the feeding and the dying, you cannot make the claim that the Baus is intentionally feeding. You can say he is feeding, but his intention is never to feed and lose the game. It is always to win the game. Unless, of course, I'll give you certain niche cases when the Baus literally wants to die and tries to die so that he can use his Sion passive to kill his enemies or deal a lot of damage to them. But in my opinion, using a champion's ability should never be a bannable offense. At least not in a case like this, where he is actively trying to win the game. You can easily see how absurd it is to compare Baus to intentional feeders by just honestly asking yourself the question, who would you rather have as a teammate in your ranked games? A challenger level player who has an unconventional strategy where he dies a lot but ultimately tries to win the game, or a player who ultimately tries to lose the game by intentionally feeding the enemy gold and not getting any value for his team. When you make this comparison, it just becomes so obvious, but I see people calling him an intentional feeder, and this is just simply not true. So now let's address the statistics Reddit post that was made recently that's titled "A Statistic Perspective on Whether the Baus is Trolling." And like I said, I believe that this post is made with humorous intent. I don't think it's made to witch hunt Baus. However, I see a lot of people using this as some sort of proof, some sort of argument to ban the Baus, saying he is trolling. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's very long. I will leave it in the description down below so you guys can go check it out in full if you're interested. We're just going to read the TLDR of the author of the post. And he basically says, statistical evidence demonstrates that deaths is a major negative factor in the Baus games. On 5 of his 6 main champions, which comprise 87% of his top lane ranked solo queue games across 4 accounts. Due to the Baus' increasingly poor win rate with higher deaths on all main champions, we can conclude that beyond a certain point, 10 to 12 deaths, he is trolling. So, the only thing that this post says is that when the Baus loses a game, he has more deaths than usual, which is absolutely the case for everybody. Like, this is the case for you, this is the case for your friends, for your favorite streamers. It is absolutely true that when a player loses a game, he is on average going to have more deaths than he is going to have when he wins the game. But this is absolutely no proof of anything or any other claims besides that. Thing number 2 is just because somebody has a bad game or plays bad doesn't mean that they're trolling, right? The Baus' strategy is not some end-all be-all strategy with 100% win rate that's always going to win. No. Baus is going to have bad games, and in those bad games, he's going to have a lot of deaths. Those are going to reflect in losses or his lose rate, right? But ultimately, the Baus plays good. This gives him a over 50% win rate, and this lets him climb the game. So using this to somehow say that the Baus is trolling or something is absolutely brain dead.
You know, I actually watch clips of Baus. I mean, I watch games of Baus playing AP Irelia, and I have to admit it is the most useless shit I have seen in quite some time. Like,
now, there are some serious allegations here that are levied by really good players, such as, for instance, Nemesis, which you've just witnessed, who say that when the Baus picks his signature champion, AP Irelia, he is trolling. And I can only say one thing to this. This is absolutely true. And if he keeps picking AP Irelia right, please just permit.
Is that true? Is it actually true that Baus got permabanned? Is it time to go back to my main because High Elo is not terrorized anymore? It is true. He's got permad. But that's only one account, right? He has multiple. I mean, that proves that high elo people don't want to play with his playstyle. As much as it's working for him as he is a high elo player with this playstyle, it kind of proves that high elo people don't want to play with that playstyle. I don't think people report him for like no reason, you know what I mean?
And the final piece of criticism levied against Baus, which I do think is justified, is the fact that when you play with the Baus or somebody using a strategy, it ruins your game. Not just for your team, but for the enemy team as well. And I absolutely understand where people are coming from, and I absolutely agree. I think players are used to playing a game a certain way, and when a player influences and changes the way the game is played, people are not used to it, people don't want it, it's not the game that they're playing, and it's ultimately a more unenjoyable experience for everybody. So I can definitely understand where that criticism is coming from. However, with that being said, I think blaming this on the Baus is absolutely ridiculous. He is just a player. He is using the systems that are put in place by Riot Games, a company who literally influences how the game functions. They can literally dictate how the game is going to look like, how the game is going to be played, and the systems that are in the game that the Baus is using. So the Baus is doing nothing more than exposing faults with the game. Specifically, he is exposing faults with the bounty system that is currently exists in the game. So I would say that if you're championing a ban, what you're doing is you're shilling for a company that would rather hide their shortcomings than fix them. When a new player comes along with a OP champion or a new build or something that is unfun to play with, like for instance Teemo or Rengar, who can just one-shot you if you're a squishy and you have absolutely no way of reacting, we don't go to that player and say, don't you dare pick Teemo ever in your life. Don't you dare build those items. You're way too strong. No, we go to Riot Games and we say, Riot, please fix this. What is going on? This is like ridiculously unfun. Can you please fix this? So why is this case any different? Why are we witch hunting the Baus? Why are we saying, Baus, it's your fault for playing this? Instead of saying, Riot, please fix this. Why is he allowed to do this? This is unfun for us. We don't want to play this. So the Baus ban is doing absolutely nothing more, and I'm talking about the people championing it, are doing absolutely nothing more than hiding the incompetencies of a gaming company. And all of you supporting it literally serve to reinforce the tyranny and bad habits of said company. If you made it this far into the video, I thank you. Let's start a discussion. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I want to hear if you disagree with anything I've said. If you have any different opinions, leave a comment down below. I do read all of the comments, even though I don't respond to all of them. So I really want to hear your opinion. Yeah, leave a comment down below. And of course, like the video, subscribe, follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/nilnoir. I'm doing a project where I'm climbing from bronze to masters, and I'm not smurfing. I was literally a bronze player 3 months ago. And I'll see you guys next time, and until then, we stay shilling. Bye bye.